The important differences between having good debt and having bad debt. And just so we're on the same page, we'll define having debt as owing someone money. Let's start off with bad debt. Bad debt is normally what people think about when they hear the word debt, but we're going to further define this as owing money on depreciating assets, such as cars, clothes, and appliances, right? So if it goes down in value over a period of time, it's a depreciating asset. Another form of bad debt that's not technically a depreciating asset is a credit card. If you're paying high interest rate on your credit card, you're losing money, so it does fall into that depreciating asset category. So owing money on depreciating assets, or things that go down in value over time, is having bad debt. So on the flip side, having good debt is having debt that helps you generate an income or build your net worth. The first example of good debt is taking on student loans to obtain a degree that will increase your annual income. And do not take on more student loans than your expected first-year salary. The next example of good debt is real estate through homeownership, buying a house, living in it for several years, then selling it for a profit. And finally, my favorite form of good debt is starting a business.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Profit Pulse, where we make money simple, smart, and stress-free. Let's talk about something most people get completely wrong: debt. Not all debt is bad, but not all of it is good either. The difference between good debt and bad debt can determine whether your money is working for you or against you. In this video, we'll break down what makes debt a tool versus a trap, and how to use it strategically to build your wealth instead of destroying it. Let's get into it.
You should definitely cut up your credit cards if you can't control your spending. But I don't know how people live without credit cards. I don't know how you can check into a hotel, rent a car, or go shopping, go out for dinner, but you should cut up your credit cards if you're a shopaholic. That's good advice. And the other thing about debt, there's good debt and bad debt. And if you only have bad debt, which I classify student loan debt as bad debt, the main reason it's bad debt is because it's the worst possible type of debt. You see, if I get into trouble as a businessman with debt, I can declare bankruptcy. But the trouble with student loan debt, you can't do that. It hangs around your neck for the rest of your life. So if you're a student, you shouldn't take on student loan debt unless you absolutely 100% guaranteed that you will commit to graduating. I have two friends, they're both medical doctors, and they came out of school with $500,000 in student loan debt, but they paid it off in 5 years.
Bad debt are things that tie to things that depreciate. Financing jewelry, financing clothes at a department store. They give you that shiny credit card. You didn't look on the back or look at the details. That's 28 to 35% interest rate. Financing most automobiles actually is bad debt, depending on, unless it's taking you to a job, and that is its primary purpose. Good debt is tied to something that appreciates. But let me be very blunt. This is, Malcolm X, I'm going to say this a couple times today, so I'm going to say it once because it's going to apply to a lot of stuff. Malcolm X, Dr. King had a lot in common, actually, certainly towards the end of Dr. King's life. One of the things that Malcolm X said that I love is we've been bamboozled, we've been tricked, we've been fooled, we've been hoodwinked, we've been run amok. What do I mean by that? No centimillionaire, no billionaire, no growing city like Houston, no country like America ever became a huge, successful economy without good debt. I'm going to say it again. Nobody that you admire has gotten there without good debt. Good debt. Debt is as old as humanity itself. And it was we don't have time for this, but actually capitalism and free enterprise and trade was created by black people, Jews, and those in the Middle East 6,000 years ago. It's just we forgot our own memo. Jews then went off and mastered finance because they couldn't own land in Europe. And so that's why they're so good at financial literacy, even though they're discriminated against. We decided to master culture versus capitalism, culture versus commerce. So where the rules are published and the playing field is level, we kill it. Think about it. The arts, professional sports. By the way, I got low self-esteem. I need to know that you're out here. Yes or no? The arts, professional sports, faith, politics. These areas, we've killed it because the rules are published and the playing field is level. No one ever taught us a game of capitalism. So it's not like we got the memo and screwed it up. We just never got the memo. And part of this memo is using good debt. That means using it conservatively, using it appropriately, but using it. I mean, I got these rap stars that call me their mentor. My brother T.I., my brother Killer Mike. A lot of these brothers, they're just paying for things for cash. Like, yo, man, I mean, they're paying for a building for cash, $2 million, $3 million. Man, I love you. I love the ability that you can hustle like that. You can floss like that. You can lay it down like that. But that is not a good use of money. Like, so we got to refinance that out, get you some cash out, get you a modest mortgage on that thing, take the rest of that cash, and you do something else with it. Put it in the bank if you like, put it in the stock market. But good debt is an incredible vehicle for wealth creation. The most gangster business on the planet is banking. That's why they wear this nice little conservative suit and a little buttoned up tie, and they walk around. He's gangsta. For every dollar a bank owner puts in the capital account, for every dollar you see in a bank, 6%, Jerome, is owned by the owner, the shareholder. The rest, 94%, is you and me. So we put in 94 cents, they put in 6 cents, they lend out the dollar. This is gangster. They get the whole return on the dollar as long as you pay your loan back. So somebody will say, John Bryant, he's talking about debt. Now he's going to talk about home ownership. I should buy a home. Yeah, if I own the home, I don't own the home. The bank owns the home. If you don't pay, let me tell you something. The color is green, not black or white, not red or blue. If I loan you money to buy a house with the best of intentions and you don't pay me back, I'm going to own your home. So we've got to take the emotions out of this. We got to upgrade our software and just master this capitalism game like we've mastered every other game.
This, in my personal opinion, depends on the person that has the debt and how they utilize the debt. So for instance, I could have a credit card and you could have a credit card. And I use my credit card like a debit card because if, knock on wood, something were to happen to said credit card, they're responsible for it and they take on the liability and the risk. I don't. And none of my personal funds are jeopardized. And it gets paid off every month because, again, I use it like a debit card. Whereas, and I'm not saying you personally, but let's say generally, just someone out there uses their credit card willy-nilly and frivolously, where they're not just buying essentials on it or things that they can afford, and they don't pay it off and they accrue a ton of interest and they pay so much on it every month and they never get out of debt. That would then be considered bad debt in your case on how that person would be using it as opposed to how I would use the credit card. Also, taking cash out of the equity that you own in your home and using it in a beneficial way is good debt, personally. So for instance, if I took a HELOC out on my home right now and I went to go buy an investment property and said investment property is going to continue to make me money, that's great debt. But if you take a HELOC out on your home and you go and buy a supercar that you don't need and it doesn't, and you're just kind of using it as a fun car and maybe you can't afford it, it's probably not good debt. So I think with most things in the world, it really just depends on the person and it could be, good or bad. And thinking about, is this more of a want or more of a need, will probably answer as to whether or not it's going to be good debt or bad debt.
I listened to that Dame Dash interview he just did with the Breakfast Club, and I understood somewhat what he was saying. You're going to, when you get out of debt, you're going to think differently about how money revolves around you and how money revolves around others. My mindset when I was at work was I make more than my managers and my bosses. Now, I understand they're my bosses and my bosses' bosses for a reason. They had to fill out the application. They worked longer than me. They showed they worked to get into that position. But as far as how much they made more than me, that didn't fucking matter because as I got to sit here and remind y'all, 7 out of 10 people are in debt. If I'm making $80,000 a year and my boss is making $150,000 a year, but he has to pay $130,000 or $140,000 in debt every year, and I have no debt, who bring home more money? That's what Dane Dash is trying to prove. I bring home more money because I don't have any debt. My expenses are low, and just because I make less than my boss and my boss's boss, most people do not know how money works. They just think that you just go to work, make a paycheck, and you're supposed to. Most people go to work and just think that they're supposed to have bills because they've seen their parents have bills. You're not supposed to have that many bills. You should be going to work, getting rid of your debt, and then you should be trying to figure out what the hell do I want to do in life, what do I like to do in life, and use your job money as a funnel in order to get out and do what you're actually passionate about doing in life. Others are gonna seem like you bragging, you not, because I know one of the reasons God put me on this earth was to teach people, and I tell people this information all the time. But like I say, you can always bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But to all my people that's out of debt, they know what's up. You're not necessarily, a pay raise would be nice, but it feels like you hit the fucking lottery when you got into debt, because you realize you're bringing home so much money, and then it make you realize, damn, I was giving out this money away for a long ass time. It feels good to have this money come in. And always keep this in your mind. Just because somebody seems like they're doing financially better than you, that's not always the case, because the person can make more than you on paper, but you can bring more home than them in reality. The people who make $150,000 to $1 million are even more in debt. Remember, I got to stress this again. 7 out of 10 Americans are in debt. So $150,000 to $1 million a year, most people, the majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck. Just because you see they flashing nice shit does not mean they actually have the money. They have the money to pay for the bills. Yes, they have it. But when it's time for them to go out, go to a nice dinner, go on vacation, do all this other shit, they don't do nothing but sit in the house. It's a big ass difference between sitting in the house because you have to versus sitting in the house because you want to. Getting and staying out of debt is a mindset thing. Once you start thinking about how connect the dots between A and Z, you just look at money and you just look at the world differently, and that makes you want to do differently with your money.
Why would Kim K still get a $48 million mortgage to buy a new home as a billionaire? Well, time for a secret rich people understand that you don't. There is a difference between what I will call good debt, mortgage, and bad debt. Good debt is when you are able to borrow money at a lower rate that you can earn by investing that same amount of money, and you do invest it. This means that you're able to turn a profit and grow wealth because that money is making more than you're paying on it in your interest payments. This same idea is applied to almost everything you do. There's a reason that if you look at the Forbes 100 list, despite having billions and billions of dollars, every single person on there has some form of debt, because debt can be incredibly good when used well. It's just that not everybody wants us to know that. Kim knows that you can use debt intelligently in order to make your money make money by bringing you back friends.
Tell me the biggest lie an adult has ever told you, and when you figured out it was a lie.
That debt is bad. I plan on being heavily in debt in my entire retirement. Let me show you why. I'm max funding a life insurance policy all the way until I'm 65 years old. Now here comes the best part. I'm going to borrow against all of my money and spend it as extra tax-free income during retirement. The insurance company is projecting that I'll be able to have a 6-figure tax-free income for pretty much the rest of my life. As you can see, I'll be millions of dollars in debt by the time I'm in my 90s. But this is a loan that I never have to repay because it's collateralized by the death benefit on my own policy. So when I pass away, this death benefit pays out and cancels out all the loans against my policy, allowing me to enjoy all this tax-free and still leave tax-free money behind to my family. You see, debt is tax-free, and if you know how to use it, it can be a very powerful financial tool. Follow to learn more.
So this guy right here, one of the most prominent figures in this space, is going to completely disagree with everything I'm about to talk about in this video, but we're going to say it anyway. Let's get it. So I was at a party the other night, and there's this guy talking to me about another guy's finances. I know, super wrong. I don't know either of them very well, but I was just being polite, participating in the conversation at this point. After he gets done talking, I say, well, hey, that's the difference between racking up bad debt versus good debt. And he's inebriated. I don't drink. And he says, what do you mean good debt? And then I hit him with this, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. Let's start with some super broad-based definitions. Good debt. This is money borrowed used to invest in something that is supposed to appreciate in value and or expand your income. Plain and simple. That's it. Bad debt. This is money borrowed to purchase something that has no potential to increase in value or expand your income. The reason why this is such a controversial topic with Dave Ramsey and other finance gurus is that if you have $10 and no debt, you are richer than 15% of American households. This is a startling statistic that also alters your perception of debt in a negative way, in my opinion. Here are some examples. You take out a $10,000 personal loan to invest or start your business. You're becoming a realtor and you need money to get started. This is good debt. Even if it falls flat on its face, it has the potential, and that's important. Now let's talk about bad debt. You take out $10,000 to purchase a used Ducati that your crush Rosalie is always talking about. That is bad debt. But let's flip the script. There is a way this motorcycle can be good debt, and that's if you plan on starting a YouTube channel as a moto vlogger, and this is your main source of income, maybe 2 years down the road. We got good debt here. So I urge you guys, if you take any tidbit out of this video, before you purchase something using credit or loan money, just think to yourself, is this good debt or bad debt? And I promise you will be financially better off in the long run as soon as you start thinking about it that way. But anyways, guys, this is long enough. Leave any questions down in the comments. Please like, comment, follow, share. I upload every single day. And I hope you guys learned something on this one. I'll see you on the next one. Let's go.
Did you know that debt can be a good thing? There's good debt and there's bad debt. The wealthy understand that good debt pays you, bad debt you pay. If you borrow money to buy something like your personal house or a boat or a car or something that doesn't produce income, that's bad debt. But if you borrow money to pay for something that produces income, that produces cash and grows in value, that's good debt. A rental house, an apartment complex, storage facilities, those are all debt that I own that pay me every single month and grow in value. So that makes that good debt. That is the biggest difference between the wealthy and the not wealthy, is understanding how to leverage debt and use other people's money to get wealthy. Follow me here and on YT for more free advice.
There is a huge difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt is taking on debt that will help you build your wealth. A good example of this is a rental property. You're technically taking on debt, but you hope to get appreciation and rental income over the long term. Bad debt is taking on debt that destroys your wealth. A common example of this is credit cards. These are high interest loans, so you might get $5,000 worth of credit card debt, but it takes $6,000 to pay it off, and there's no appreciation or rental income that comes with credit cards. Now, another example of good debt could be student loans, depending on what degree you got and how much you paid for it. Another example could be starting or improving a business. Now, it all depends on the situation, because all three of these could be bad investments depending on how you play it out. And then other examples of bad debt would definitely be a car loan, because cars depreciate in value 50% over the next 5 years, as well as personal loans. Those typically come with high interest rates as well. So if you are going to take out debt, just make sure it's good debt that's building your wealth and not bad debt that's destroying it.
And that's the truth about good debt versus bad debt. Debt isn't the enemy, it's how you use it that matters. Smart debt builds assets, bad debt builds stress. If this helped you see money differently, hit that like button, drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to Profit Pulse for more clear, practical financial insights. Looking for more videos like this? Click on the video link to view my latest upload. This is Profit Pulse. Stay smart, stay steady, stay profitable.